Hello. Oh my goodness, guys. I don't have the lighting right or anything. This is something that I think is really important and I wanted to talk about it. So I've got my little Play-Doh guy. Isn't he fun? So when we are all born and we're dependent, right? We're all dependent. There's no way around the fact that we're dependent, right? And we're little tiny babies and we're dependent, right? And you have the mommy and the daddy, and then you get the little baby who's a piece of both of those. So for a while, we are really dependent on these folks, the mommy and the daddy. We're super dependent on them. But after a while, we began to step away and say, oh, there's things that I can do. And maybe, we do things with daddy and then we do things with mommy. And then what happens? We go to school and we leave mommy and daddy at home or at work or whatever they do. And we go to school, right? Here we are headed to school. And guess what? We meet other people, right? We meet other people. Here we are, we're at school doing this, we're doing our things, right? We are becoming independent. First, we were super dependent, right? Because we're dependent on mommy and daddy. And now we're becoming independent and we're forming our peer groups and all of those things that are happening. Now, what happens? So, technically, we're forming our independence and figuring that out, but we keep returning back, right? And being a little dependent again because it's appropriate. And then we go on and eventually we form ourselves into, this should be blue and green, but it's just green. We form ourselves into that person who is independent, right? So here we are, independent. But there's something interesting that happens. If we keep just independence, right? Then when that person comes along who could be our partner or our mate, we are still running over here. And when we say, oh, we want our independence, or something else could happen is we become dependent again to the point where if our mate isn't happy or our friend isn't happy, we're not happy. So you have to be totally supportive of this person. You have to figure out what they need, what they want, and you become codependent. That if that person isn't happy, you're not happy. So that's an interesting space to be in. And we look at this, and here's the spectrum. Here's the spectrum piece of, so we take our first little peoples, and you are independent, right? But then sometimes you are interdependent. And interdependent doesn't mean you can't go back and be independent, but you are interdependent. And then sometimes when you're sick, you are totally dependent, like the child is again. So there's a spectrum. I need my pink board so I can draw the spectrum. There's a spectrum of independence, interdependence, and then sometimes dependence. Now, again, just like with the healthy family, it's the ability to go in and out and in and out. And when we get to an issue is when you become so stuck like this. In the codependency model, you become so stuck that when you pull yourselves apart, you leave pieces on each other. Now, we all offer things to each other, but still you leave pieces on each other. Or you're not able to separate out that this is basically what you become. You become this totally enmeshed. God designed us to be one flesh in a marriage, but not to the point where we can't function as independent beings. So when you become into this totally enmeshed piece, then what? Right? Then what? Promise better lighting next time. We're talking about independence, interdependence, dependence, and then the flip side of that is codependence.